welcome to today's live webinar, Working on Your Own Terms, A Guide to Semi-Retirement. My name is Justin Smith. I'm a financial advisor here at Savant Wealth Management, and I'm also joined today by Anne Carden. Anne specializes in helping people build their coaching and consulting businesses to 6 and 7 figures with her Expert in You model. Anne, thanks for joining me today.
Justin, thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. We're super excited to have you here with us today.
This is going to be great. And we want this to be an interactive session today. So please feel free to use the Q&A box below. And also, we want you to go ahead and grab a pen and paper because we have some exercises for you to work through as well. We are going to leave plenty of time for your questions at the end, but there are over 900 people registered today, so we won't be able to cover them all, but we will do our best. And please be sure to stick around to the end because Anne and I both have some free resources for you. So to help you get started designing your ideal semi-retirement, we're going to walk you through a 3-step process today. It's going to start with your vision and goals, then your financial plan, and then your career plan. And when we think about this, before we can get started putting that plan together, we need to know, where are you going? What is your vision for your ideal semi-retired life? Now, vision can be a bit of a nebulous thing. So let me tell you a story about Bill. After spending decades climbing the corporate ladder and crisscrossing the globe, Bill was really just burned out. He wanted to stop living in hotels and airports and start living and working on his own terms. So Bill's vision was a new chapter of work where he'd get more autonomy and independence. He'd still be getting fulfillment and purpose and compensation from work, but doing it on his terms so he could have enough energy and flexibility to spend quality time with his grandchildren. Now, it obviously took a lot of hard work and planning, but Bill went on to become a successful consultant in semi-retirement, ultimately fulfilling his vision. And I know you worked with a lot of people just like Bill. Do you have any stories about somebody's compelling vision becoming a reality?
Yes, so often when people are coming from corporate or CEO, or even if they are a business owner owning another business and they are looking to maybe sell that business, helping them be able to put together their business model, their marketing plan, everything that's going to help them build a coaching and consulting business. And I've worked with physicians, doctors who are building out models. It really is a great next phase for a lot of people because you can work it as much or as little as you want to.
Perfect. So I want everyone out there to go ahead and grab your pen and paper and start jotting down your answer to this question. What is your vision for semi-retirement? If you're feeling brave, we'd love to see it in the Q&A box as well. And if maybe you're struggling to get started or drawing a blank, ask yourself these questions. What are you doing? With whom? Where are you? How are you spending your time? What have you stopped doing? What have you potentially created more space for? The essence of this is to understand and articulate what's most important to you. If we do this right, your vision could be as simple as a sentence or two. And what this is going to do is this is going to serve as your North Star as you navigate the path ahead and make critical planning decisions. So I think we see a couple items and examples coming through the chat. And what are you seeing as examples of vision statements?
Yes, starting their own business, trying to figure out what their next step is.
Yep.
And yes, and really just kind of dialing that in and feeling, hold on. I've already decided to work part-time in a field related to my career, but as a contractor, okay.
Perfect. And I'm seeing people that are, John is interested in working on projects with mini sabbaticals in between, which would create more time and space for hobbies. That's great. Susan wants to move to a more flexible remote work type of scenario with less hours so that she can be more present with friends and family.
Yes, and I'm seeing lots of time to be physically active after a lot of desk work. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's a common theme I hear quite a
Mhm.
bit now. I think the pandemic taught us a lot about really prioritizing our health and wellness as it fits into our broader life. So let's see, there's a couple other ones. Somebody wants to run their own business so they can be in control and decide when and how much they work. So that's great. These are all really fantastic examples. So I hope everyone's got something circled on the top of their paper. Because once we have that vision in place, then what I like to do is start creating goals that can support your vision. These goals should span all areas of your life. We should have goals for how you want to spend your time, how you want to make commitments to different relationships, to friends and family. Uh, you probably want to have goals around your hobbies, like we just mentioned, your health and wellness, how you want to be involved in your community, and then obviously work goals and money goals too. But it should really be a holistic set of goals, all in service of that broader vision.
Justin,
So,
one quick thing. I'm getting people saying the chat is not working. It is working. We're seeing it. We just don't have it public. So just to let you know, your chats are coming through. Your comments are coming through.
yep, yeah, absolutely. We want to preserve everybody's privacy. So when you type in something, it only comes to Anne and I,
Yes.
doesn't go out to the broader group. Um, but we do appreciate you all sharing that. It's very helpful and keeps us an interactive and lively conversation. And like we talked about, we've already started to get some compelling vision statements and things like that. And that can lead to the next question, which are, what are your goals for semi-retirement? I'll give you another example here from Kathy. She said, I still have gas in the tank, but I can't keep going 100 miles an hour. I need to downshift. Like many people, being active and healthy was a big priority for her that she had on the back burner. So she had health and wellness goals to bike, golf, and play pickleball at least once each. Her family is also really important to her. So another goal was to visit all of her children and grandchildren at least once a year, if not twice. And then lastly, in this downshift to semi-retirement as a contractor and freelancer, her work goal was to make 50% of her previous salary without sacrificing her flexibility and independence. So we'd love to hear any goals you have in the chat where we review those in a moment. And I know you've guided a lot of people through these types of transitions. What are some interesting goals that you've come across and seen?
Yeah, so a lot of times people still feel like they have so much to give. They have so much to give back, and they don't want to just kind of let all the years of expertise and knowledge and skills and career go to waste, so to speak. And so they want to be able to travel. They want to be able to have more time with family, but they feel like they still have things left to do, and they want to leverage everything that they've learned through the years and help other people.
Excellent. Yeah, and we're seeing some great examples of goals, multifaceted goals in the chat
Mhm.
as well. Um, Health and exercise are a really big trend we're seeing here. And then it seems like a lot of people want to engage the artistic side too, right? A lot of us in the corporate world maybe not having the opportunity to engage that artistic side of ourselves. And
Mhm.
that can be a big component or a goal we want to have in
Mhm.
semi-retirement. We also saw a question about what do we mean by semi-retirement? So that just means less than full-time work. And it can be a really broad this description. And we don't mean to need to put labels on this. You could call it hybrid retirement, semi-retirement, an encore career, whatever you want to call it. But really the gist of it is kind of living life more intentionally and not having work at the forefront. All right, so let's move along here. And what this is really powerful because just in the first few minutes, we've heard from so many people. You should have on your paper jotted down your vision and goals. So just in just a couple minutes, we've already started to focus in on where we're aiming. And now that we know where we're aiming, we can start putting together a plan. Anne is going to focus on the career side of the equation in just a few minutes. But first, I'm going to cover your financial plan. And here at Savant, we advise clients on 10 key areas of financial planning. But today, I want to focus on just the 4 most critical planning items in semi-retirement. So the first of 4 planning areas that we need to address is cash flow. Specifically, how can you feel secure without that regular paycheck? If you're doing consulting or contracting or gig work, you're probably not going to get paid every 2 weeks. The cash will most likely come in bigger chunks and won't be as regular or predictable. So if you are still operating in this W-2 mindset, it's going to be a tough adjustment. Because what if that invoice doesn't get paid for 90 days? Or what if you have a few months in between projects? There's going to be stress and strain on your cash flow. So that's why you need to have a cash flow plan and build in a safety net for yourself. If we go back to our friend Kathy, she was worried about this since she was intentionally cutting her compensation in half, and she knew it wasn't going to be as predictable. She ultimately didn't know how she was going to pay the bills each month and make sure her money would last for the long term. So that's why she created a cash flow plan to give her some security for the next 5 years. The plan was that she had 2 annual payouts coming from her old job, and those were going to cover her basic expenses for years 1 and 2. Then she took some of her savings and purchased CDs that would mature in years 3, 4, and 5. So this wasn't rocket science, but it did give her the confidence to know that she could keep the lights on, pay the bills, despite this lower and more variable income. If she'd earn less than anticipated, she was still going to be okay. And if she ended up earning more than anticipated, that just meant extra fun money for travel and spending time with her family. So the planning process for Kathy was to first map out what her cash flow needs were going to be, offset that with a conservative estimate from what she'd be earning, and then round it out with other resources. For her, it was deferred compensation and savings, but this could also be pension income, rental income, retirement account distributions, etc. You can map this out with a spreadsheet, but we really recommend you work with a professional to test out and validate your plan because the stakes are pretty high here. The second critical financial planning area we need to address for a successful semi-retirement is health insurance. If you're under age 65 when Medicare starts, you need to have a plan for how you will attain and also pay for health insurance. And this can be daunting, especially if you've relied on employer-provided coverage your whole life, because now it's your turn to select the right coverage and also pay the entire bill. It's not uncommon at all for a couple in their 50s or 60s to have a monthly premium over $2,000 a month. And you might not have the same level of coverage you're accustomed to either. So in total, healthcare costs could be a $30,000 or more annual budget item. But there are good news, and there are some options here. You may have your spouse or partner may have coverage if they're still employed. That could be a great option for you. I've seen a number of people be able to negotiate insurance coverage as part of their semi-retirement compensation package. You also have the option to utilize COBRA continuation coverage that will provide an 18-month bridge. And then finally, what's becoming a more frequently used option is shopping the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare marketplace to purchase your own policy. The beauty of this is that depending on your income, those ACA policies could be eligible for a generous tax subsidy that could be worth $10,000 or more annually. And in some cases, depending on income, the premium tax credit subsidy can completely eliminate the entire premium. So it's something you need to do your homework on and sort out. And this is all going to take a lot of legwork. And like we said, it could be expensive, but it's critical to have a plan. Our friend John put together a multi-step plan when he entered semi-retirement at age 60. So well, something like this. They were going to stay on his wife's insurance for 1 more year until she retired. Then after that, they were going to do 18 months of COBRA continuation coverage from her plan. After that, they got an Affordable Care Act plan for 2 years. In that first year, they'd be able to manage their income so that they could qualify for that premium tax credit subsidy, saving them $10,000 or more. And then in the next year, semi-retirement income might be too high and might eliminate the ability to capture those subsidies, but that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. So as you can see, you need to have a plan. It might be a multi-step plan here to bridge you until age 65 Medicare eligibility. Let's move on quickly to our third planning item, which is tax planning. The big takeaway here is that your tax picture is going to be very different in semi-retirement. And if you're not careful, you may come across some nasty tax surprises. What I often see is that a big consulting contract might bump you into a higher tax bracket, or maybe you don't realize that in addition to federal and state taxes, you're also subject to self-employment taxes. That's where you get the pleasure of paying both the employee and employer side of Social Security and Medicare, and it can really add up. And either one of those things I mentioned could generate a nasty tax surprise to the tune of $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 or more. So it's critical to have a tax plan so that we can avoid those nasty surprises. And then beyond that, we also want to look at strategies that might help us minimize your total lifetime tax bill. And this is another paradigm shift from the W-2 world. Your income is likely to be more variable, and you might also have more control over your income. So you want to use those factors to your advantage. If you don't have a plan, if you're not using those factors to your advantage, it's probably going to work in favor of the IRS. So that's what this tax planning is really all about. In the simplest terms, we want to look at the high years and decrease income, and we want to potentially look at the low income years and maybe increase income. Ultimately, we're trying to find a happy medium or equilibrium. Typically, what we see is that people's earnings tend to peak in their 50s. Those are their highest tax years. And then if they enter semi-retirement, their taxable income might drop to a lower level. But eventually, it's going to pick back up in their 70s when Social Security, retirement account distributions, and other income sources start. So we often see this high, low, high income pattern. We want to take advantage of those low years so that we can reduce the high years that might come in the future. A woman named Mary is a great example of this. Sorry, I lost my slide. Give me a second. There we go. We're back. So Mary, like I said, was a great example of this. She's developed a successful coaching practice in semi-retirement that she really loves, but the income varies a lot from year to year. She said it was like Space Mountain, right? It's like riding a roller coaster in the dark. She never knows where it's going, if it's going up or down or left or right. And that can be stressful. But the silver lining to all this is that she gets to take advantage of those ups and downs. For the high income years, she set up a solo 401k retirement plan that allows her to defer over $73,000 of income on top of all the other self-employed business deductions she gets to take. Then when she has a down year, she can do Roth conversions to fill up those lower tax brackets. So she's effectively electing to pay a relatively low tax rate in those low income years so that she can have more dollars in a Roth IRA, which can then be tax-free forever and not subject to higher taxes in the future. So in essence, she's using these retirement accounts to move income between the different years, smoothing out and minimizing her lifetime tax liability. Then that takes us to our fourth and final financial planning area, which is benefits planning. This includes retirement accounts, equity compensation, pensions, deferred comp, Social Security, etc. You need to have a plan and coordinate all of these benefits together. And then as you move forward as a self-employed individual, you need to create your own benefit strategy. So obviously this can get complicated very quickly. And the problem I see is people just get into analysis paralysis. They're scared about making the wrong choices, so maybe they don't do anything at all, or they settle for the simple default options. But not having a plan can come back to haunt you. You could potentially lose access to the funds in your 401k and be subject to a 10% penalty. Your default elections with stock plans and deferred comp could blow up your tax bill if they all pay out in the same year. And your default elections on things like Social Security and pensions could unknowingly put your spouse at risk if something were to happen to you. So the stakes are high and there's a lot of moving parts. So we need to start by simply just breaking it down. And to do that, I like to start mapping out a timeline. Let's say you're 55. I suggest you plot out a 20-year timeline, uh, and then start writing down when these different benefits are going to start, what rules are in place, how much is going to pay out, etc. Start breaking it down piece by piece. Uh, Going back to our friend Bill, we can tell you a story and an example there. So again, he was the corporate road warrior who had a vision for more autonomy and independence in semi-retirement. He had laid out all of his benefits on that timeline before he left his corporate job at age 55. And that birthday was a really important milestone because of the rules and compensation package at his company. It allowed him to retain his restricted stock grants and let them vest for 3 more years because he retired after the age of 55. There's another interesting provision that was provided to him by separating from service after age 55 that allowed him to leave his 401k in place. And that allowed him to qualify for a special provision where he could take penalty-free withdrawals from his account. If he had rolled over the 401k to an IRA, he would be subject to a 10% penalty on withdrawals up until age 59 and a half. So by leaving the 401k in place, he was able to create a 4.5 year window where he had access to his retirement account without the 10% penalty. That could alone save him tens of thousands of dollars. Bill also had a small legacy pension from previous employment. When he crunched the numbers, he determined that 60 was the right age to claim that pension, and he also elected a 100% joint and survivor benefit. After that, he mapped out his Social Security strategy in coordination with his wife. She was going to start at 67, and he was going to wait until 70, since he had the higher benefit and he was older. That was going to create the highest possible survivor benefit for his wife. And then after he had solved for all of the previous benefits, it was now time as a self-employed individual in semi-retirement, he needed to create his own benefits package. So he opted to set up a SEP IRA retirement account. He had utilized a silver PPO policy from the ACA marketplace, and then he also set up a health savings account. So just those 3 items alone, we're going to give him $100,000 of tax deductions that he could take against his semi-retirement income. So there are a ton of moving parts here, but if we have a strategic plan, if it's all coordinated, if we're thinking about your cash flow, your benefits, your taxes, your health insurance in a cohesive way, it can really move the needle and help you have a successful semi-retirement from the financial side of things. But that's only part of it, right? We covered a lot there. And appreciate you sticking with us. We're not done yet, though, because Anne is now going to talk about creating your semi-retirement career plan. All right, Anne.
Thank you so much. So first of all, there are a lot of things that you can do when you go into semi-retirement. Most people think about some sort of a business, but I'm going to talk specifically about coaching and consulting today. And the reason I love this is because it's high profit. It's very flexible to how much you can work, how much you can make. There's a lot of flexibility, but more than anything, it really leverages all of that experience, all of that knowledge and expertise that you have gained through the years. And it is also a way to give back to other people. All of that, I call it career collateral. All of that career collateral that you have accomplished through the years, you can now help other people with what you have been able to do. And so for me, it's the fastest path to start a business. It also has very low startup costs. If you are going to create products on Amazon, for example, that's going to be a huge learning curve. It's probably not in your wheelhouse. And so all of that is a much slower path. So I believe this is the faster path to be able to build your own business. I want to talk, though, about many of the common mistakes that happen. And I made a lot of these mistakes, even though I had built multiple businesses and sold them. I made a lot of these mistakes in the coaching and consulting space because there's a lot of stuff out there being taught. And it took me a while to crack the code after a lot of investing, some years of trial and error. And I I really kind of discovered the best model that I have found for true experts, people that really do come with a lot of value to the marketplace. So that's what I want to talk about. But here are some of the common mistakes I see when people are getting started in coaching and consulting. First off, they think like an employee versus an entrepreneur. So maybe their goal is, I just want to replace my income. Well, that's not typically going to be a very sustainable business for most people, because the revenue that you bring in is not going to be income. You're going to have taxes. You're going to have, just like Justin's talking about, retirement, maybe other things that you want to do with your retirement plan. You're going to have some sort of cost to go back into your business, even if it's learning just how to package, market, and sell yourself and be able to grow that or have consistent income through your business. Those are going to require investments back. So you don't really want to think about being an employee, and you want to change, you want to shift that mindset. So that's a big mindset shift for a lot of people when they come into this space. Also thinking they need a certification. Often people don't realize they have everything they need inside of them. They've spent years acquiring that knowledge, that experience, and they don't need to go buy into a certification to be able to sell themselves and what the expertise that they can bring to the market. And so a lot of people fall into this thinking they need that, but they really don't. If you look at how to package, market, and sell what your genius is, what your expertise and your brilliance is, I've never, ever in 14 years of being a coach and a consultant had anyone ever ask me what certifications I have. So that's just a huge takeaway for you. Buying into an organization to sell their program. So there are a lot of coaching and consulting programs out there that people buy into, maybe leadership programs or business coaching programs. John C. Maxwell, there's all kinds of things, and they think that they need their content to, again, be able to grow and build a coaching or consulting practice. But once again, it's typically a slow path to do this, because it's almost like going back to school to learn the stuff that you're going to sell, versus taking what you already know, what you're already really confident at doing, and packaging, marketing, and selling that. So it's a faster path when you just learn how to leverage your expertise and build a business around that. Also, a lot of times you already have people in your network that you've maybe worked with, or maybe they've been clients, or maybe even your existing company. And you can often get your first clients by leveraging the connections and the people that already know you, like you, and trust you. And if you buy into some sort of an organization, for example, I see a lot of people say, I want to become a business coach, but they've never owned a business. Well, it's very difficult to sell that to people when you've never built a business, owned a business, and you've been an employee. It's very difficult. So even if you learn all of their stuff, it's still, there's still this lack of confidence for most people, because they really don't know all the stuff. Buying into passive income myth. Create a course, create a program, and it's passive income, and you can go sit on the beach, or you can go out on that yacht, and money's just going to flow. That's a myth. It doesn't work that way. There are a lot of moving parts to this, and it's a very difficult model for people to start with. It's a great scale model. If you're wanting to ramp things up once you're making money, you can hire a team to do some of this for you. So you don't want to buy into that type of strategy. A lot of people go broke doing that. I'm keeping it real today. Hiring a marketing agency to generate business for you. This is another big one. People throw money at marketing agencies, help me get clients. And what they find, if you don't know how to generate your own clients, you're just going to burn up money with a marketing agency, because they're not going to know your expertise as well as you. And it's just a very big mistake people make. They don't end up getting clients this way until they know how to get their own clients. And then you can hire people to actually duplicate what you've already been able to do. and go and sell your services for you. Starting with low ticket offers, this kind of goes along with the passive income. If you come into the coaching and consulting space, you're going to see a lot around funnels, around selling something very low ticket, ascending people to something high. And again, this is a very broken business model that I fell into this trap. I fell into many of these traps that I was taught. And at the end of the day, it just was something that I just couldn't get above a certain income level or a certain revenue level. And so it was at that point that I took a step back and said, okay, what is not working here? I'm not loving this. And that's where my expert in you method came from. So, all right. So again, teaching you the fastest path to success is to take what you already are so good at doing and package, market, and sell that. And here's the other thing. You can get paid high fees because you're not just starting out. Even though you might be new as a coach or a consultant, you've already probably done what you're selling, maybe years and years. And so it's just knowing how to put those pieces together. You don't have to learn how to do your thing. You already know. It's just you have to learn how to package, market, and sell and build a business around your expertise. So this is where you get to maybe jot down some ideas. What is your expertise? When I go through this exercise with people, they a lot of times will uncover 100 things that they do really, really well. And then it is determining, okay, what are the things that really excite you, that you think you would love to do, the real value that you can bring to the market. And again, these are things that I look at with my clients. Where's your biggest value, where you can make the most money, where you can leverage your expertise and really show up with confidence because you already know what you're doing. So I would jot down some ideas here on what you think that would be for you. Also, there are many ways to build a coaching and consulting business. You can even do a hybrid. Mine is very much a hybrid model. So coaching is going to be more where you're working with people, helping them figure out, what their next steps are and things like that. Consulting can be project-based, although I don't recommend project-based consulting because it is a more difficult business model because then you're always out there looking for clients. So one of the things that I teach that's very different is instead of being a transactional consultant, be a transformational consultant. And that's where you get those longer engagements, you make bigger amounts of money. But there's a lot of ways to structure this. So decide, do you want to go in and do the services for people? And again, you're going to eventually you'll max out on time doing that. But is that what you want to do? Or would you like to be a strategic advisor? That's a great way to be a consultant where you're actually going in and advising companies, organizations, teams. That's a very high level way to build a consulting business. Or do you want to be a coach? And again, lots of ways that you can structure this. These are all things I help people figure out. So you want to start with the end in mind. Really decide, what is it I want here? Do I think I want to be a coach? Do I want to go in and do projects? What does that look like for you? And then once you start with the end in mind, now you can put the path in place. If you don't know, again, Justin said at the very beginning, if you don't know where you're going, it's very difficult to get there, right? So you really do have to decide, what does that look like for you? How much time do you want? There's all kinds of factors that go into this. So go ahead, start with the end in mind. What is it you want? And then how much money do you want to make? One of the things that I do that's very different from what a lot of people will teach is I say, how much money do you want to make? How many clients would you like to work with? How much time and freedom do you want in your life? And then from there, we can package up the right offers for you to be able to go out and take them to market. So I like to actually start with the money. One thing that I see is that people kind of look around at the industry and they'll say, okay, I think this is what everybody's selling this for, and this is what I can sell it for. And then they hope that they maybe hit their goals, or they hope that they make the amount of revenue that they want or the amount of income they want. And because you're already coming with expertise, experience, knowledge, it is a matter of saying, this is what I want to make, and what does that look like, and how to package the right offers to make that amount of money. So it's a very different way of looking at it. So again, how much time do you want to work? This is really important too. If you think about building consulting or coaching as a business, do you want to maybe build a firm where you're, even though it's semi-retirement, do you want to build a firm that you can maybe sell someday? Do you want other coaches and consultants under you? That's going to require one strategy, one type of business model, even down to how you name your business. That will all be a factor. So you really do have to figure these things out at the very beginning. You have to know, how much time do I want to put into this, and what do I want it to look like? And then how do you want to work? This is also a big factor. When I first started in the coaching and consulting space, I had sold all my businesses. I knew I wanted to become a business coach, help people with marketing, sales, business, all the things. And I was going around to business owners' businesses, coaching them. And what I quickly realized is, oh my gosh, I've created a job for myself. Like, this is almost tying me down more than my businesses, where I had employees and teams and all of those. I had other people running those businesses. And so this is again where I took a step back and I said, I'm not loving this. I don't get to travel. I'm not getting time off. And so I set that standard that I was going to go global, and I was going to work with consultants and coaches all over the world and businesses all over the world. And so you need to decide this. Do you want to only be local? Do you want to be global? Do you want to be, if you're local, you can't be mobile. So also it's important to know that when you're working only locally, you actually, in most cases, will make less money. When you go globally or nationally, even, you can make as much as 3 to 10 times more, because now it's just from a marketing standpoint, you can target higher end clients. There's all kinds of nuances and things that go into this. So how do you want to work? And then you want to create your revenue offer. So this is the main thing that you're going to sell. What does that look like? And when you create revenue offers, you want to think about, okay, where is my genius? Where is my expertise? What does that look like? And who do I want to work with for that? And so, sort of, what is the problem that I'm going to solve for people? So you want to create a revenue offer that's going to really help people move forward. And this is why I love transformational offers. So when you create a revenue offer, not only do you want it to be at the pricing you want, but you want to make sure it gives an outcome, a result, a transformation. It's a solution to a problem. This is where you will get the most traction. And a lot of people, again, one core offer, I say, a lot of people will research the market and then they'll create an offer. But again, that's a great strategy, but it's not enough if you're coming with expertise, because somewhere in that, you want your expertise to be merged with what are the problems people are having, where you can fill those gaps and you can help them. So creating your revenue model is the foundation. Once you decide what you want your business to look like, now you've got to create the revenue model. And I say, again, one core offer. Pick one thing that you really want to build your entire business around. And then it's going to be easier to market it. It's going to be easier to grow it. And it will be easier to get referrals as well, because you'll be very specialized. So marketing and positioning is the next step. So when you create an offer and you're specialized, you're not trying to be something for everybody. You're really dialed in on who you're going to work with. Now you want to position yourself in the market as the expert and the authority for that particular offer. And when you do this, you will get, again, a lot more traction. You'll get more referrals. It will make your whole business model easier, and it will give you more opportunities. A lot of people are very nervous about niching down or creating the positioning where they look like they're for one type of person. But I will tell you, I did it offline before I ever came online, and it works. It's brilliant to do this. A lot of people are afraid they'll lose business. It's actually just the opposite. It speeds your success. So you want to have strong positioning in the market. This is how can you stand out against everybody else? How can you be seen as the expert, as the authority? And then you have to put marketing in place to be able to get visible and be seen by the people you want to be seen by, so you can generate leads. So what people see and believe about you is your positioning. So if I come across you for the first time, what would I see? Would I see that you look like the expert? Would I see that you have credibility? Would I see that you've done this for 30 years? All of those things become part of your positioning, so that your positioning should really attract the right people to you, and it should repel the wrong people. But at the end of the day, it should be strong enough that it really pulls in the right people, and it already builds that know, like, and trust. So now it's really doing the heavy lifting for you. So strong marketing position or strong market positioning actually puts you in a category of one. There is no one else out there, and with the hundreds of thousands of coaches and consultants, there is no one else out there that has my method, doing things the way I do them, with my experience, with the clients that I've worked with. And so that is all part of strong positioning. So I am literally in a category of one. So a lot of people worry about competition. Oh, it's such a busy space, coaching and consulting. There's so many people. You can micro niche down. I mean, it doesn't matter how many people are in the industry when you learn how to build a business around your expertise. So lead generation, this is the next step, the next piece of marketing. So first you've got your positioning. That's the foundation before you even start to market. And then you have to generate leads, right? How is that going to work for you? And leads are oxygen to your business. If you don't get leads, you can't get clients. And you need a marketing strategy in place so that you're getting in front of the right people. They're seeing you, they're highly compelled to talk to you or to get into a conversation with you. And so you always want ways that you're generating leads so that you can get clients whenever you want. And this means you need a marketing system. So who are your potential customers? And then you want to fill your pipeline, and out the other side are going to come sales, right? So your marketing system will give you consistent lead flow, and it should be like a well-oiled machine, but then you've still got to close sales. So this is where the money is made. Marketing is just how you get attraction to your business, but the sales are made when you actually have conversations with people and you close the deal. And again, this is something that a lot of people struggle with. If you've maybe never done sales, you've never had to market yourself, maybe you've had people do that for you. If you're in a career and you're in a position and you've never had to do that. And these are the fundamentals of building any kind of a business. You have to know what you're selling. You have to know how to market that and how to close sales. And then you can scale your income and your revenue. So one of the things that I help people do is once they get their business going, you want more consistency in your business. You want things working like a well-oiled machine so that business can come in consistently and predictably. And just like Justin talked about, you don't want to be on the up and down revenue roller coaster. And this comes with strategies. A lot of coaches and consultants, though, stay on the up and down revenue roller coaster because they're just thinking like solo. I just want to go out and get clients. I want to close those clients. And that's my business. But that isn't a scalable business because you're going to max out on time. You're going to max out on energy. And you can never really get a lot of help in your business to do the marketing and maybe the things you don't love to do. You'll never get those things off of your plate if you don't think bigger. So I always like to encourage people, when you're building a business, you're no longer an employee. You can build wealth, you can build a future, it can go to whatever level you want it to go to. But if you don't expand your mind to think like this, even if it's semi-retirement, you can build a firm, let other people do a lot of the work for you, and you can still be semi-retired. And I work part-time in my business, and I have an incredible business. It's all how you put the pieces together.
That's great, Anne. I really appreciate you sharing with that. We between the two of us, we've given you a lot of information in a very short amount of time. We do want to save a couple minutes for the chat. We've got a ton of questions coming in. But before we jump in there, I want to just quickly introduce a couple of the resources that we're happy to share with you. Again, please do go ahead, keep filling in that Q&A box. We're going to go ahead over there in just a second. But let's talk quickly about the resources we have available to everybody today. If this resonated with you, I think you'll love Savant's Career Crossroads workbook. We created this workbook for people who are planning their journey into semi-retirement and maybe want a guide to start putting ideas onto paper or start mapping out that plan. So we're going to make sure we include this workbook in the follow-up email that you'll get. That's also going to come along with a recording of today's webinar. This Career Crossroads workbook is also available on our website. So please feel free to check it out and share. I also invite you to schedule an introductory call to see how Savant can help. We can get you connected with a local Savant advisor who can help guide you on your semi-retirement journey. So please feel free to reach out. You can mention that in the survey if you'd like to schedule that introductory call. And Anne also has a variety of resources as well. Okay, so Anne, a first handful, I'm going to send you some questions on the career plan side of things. So I think you kind of covered this, but I think a lot of folks would love to hear more about establishing your rate or your pricing in the marketplace. How do you think through that process?
Oh, that's a loaded question. No, actually, this is where a lot of people really fall down into rabbit holes with this. But at the end of the day, it's all about the value that you are able to establish. So here's an example. If you are going to work with a corporation, for example, and let's say that maybe you have maybe you've been an accountant or a controller or a CPA, and you can help them save, maybe millions of dollars in taxes, then you can price by value. What would that be worth to them to save millions of dollars in taxes? And that's just an example. But pricing is something that if you structure it in the right way around value and you understand how to sell that and articulate the value, you can get paid bigger fees. One thing I absolutely do not recommend, well, several pricing mistakes. Don't look around at everybody else and say, oh, this must be what I could charge. That's a mistake. The second mistake is charging by the hour. Again, that employee mindset. It will keep you stuck. It will keep you struggling because now it means more time to make more money. And the model that I teach is not a time for money model. It's a money for value model, and it's a very different type of model. So there's no right or there's no one size fits all here. It's going to be dependent on who you're working with, who your target is, what you're selling. All of those are parts of pricing. They have to come before the pricing piece.
Perfect.
So
That's really
helpful.
No, that is helpful. And another kind of related question, I think when we talk about a niche strategy or a micro niche strategy, it always piques people's curiosity. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but can you give an example of a really small niche or something like that, just to help illustrate that for us?
Yeah. So actually, when I first came into the coaching space, and I bought into a coaching organization that had all the bells and whistles and all the content and everything I should be doing to teach to people. But what I found is that, number one, I had to learn all their stuff. So it slowed me down. But the other thing I discovered is that they were targeting kind of everybody. And most of the business owners they were targeting were more the startup kind of business owners. And because I had, 30 plus years, 40 plus years business experience, I did not feel fulfilled as a coach because I wasn't getting to work with clients that I could really help them grow their business and do all the things in their business. So I quit marketing to everybody, and I actually became the contractor business coach, and I was known for that. I started speaking at contractors associations. So I actually fell into the trades industry. And the way it happened is I started working with a roofing client. I had such great results. He started telling everybody about me. Then I was working with a paint company, then a plumbing company, then contractors, and it went on and on. And so I just kind of coined myself as the contractor business coach. So that would be an example of a niche. Now you could go even deeper and you could say, I only want to work with plumbing companies. I only want to work with plumbing companies that are, $3 million and up. So there's no limit. I only want to work with plumbing companies for one thing. That's another way you can niche. So fixing one problem. So again, these things all have to be figured out. But again, it's so much easier to target them. If you think about, okay, how can I find plumbing companies? That's a lot easier to go talk to them and say, do you have this problem that I help plumbing companies fix, than to try to figure out, okay, who's got the problem? It's just
Exactly.
tough.
Yeah. That's always been my read on this, is that when you know of a very specific problem you can solve, the people with that problem find you. And that's
Yes.
obviously ultimately where you'd like to go with setting up the semi-retirement business like that. There are a handful of additional questions on the consulting side, and also a lot of questions coming in on the health insurance, Medicare, ACA plans. Somebody asked, is Savant able to help with that? Yes, we can help with that. Talk to your Savant advisor or schedule an introductory call. And also, something that was really astute that somebody mentioned in the chat is that your income levels, like we talked about, impact that subsidy. So it's very important to be managing and cognizant of that. The income levels can also impact your Medicare premiums when you do hit 65. So what I like to tell people is that all of these items are really interconnected, and it can be daunting and overwhelming if they're all just floating around. If you have to break it down piece by piece, put a plan together, make sure the tax part of your plan is coordinated with the cash flow part of your plan, is coordinated with the benefits, and have everything pointing in the same direction, right? That's why we started with the vision and goals. We want all of this pointed in the same direction, like Anne was talking about as well. We want your vision and goals to be dictating how you want to be setting up your business, right? If you wanted to get off the road and spend more time with friends and family, you probably shouldn't get yourself into a consulting agreement where you're going to be on the road traveling and working 60 hours a week, right? So that alignment of all the pieces of your plan, I think, is really important. We have time for just a couple more questions before we have to wrap up. And another good question on building that career plan. What do you think is kind of a typical timeline somebody needs to be considering as they're ramping up? You obviously can't go from, I stopped working in the corporate world on Friday and on Monday have a successful coaching business or
Right.
consulting business. What is kind of a typical framework we could expect for the preparation time and then also the ramp up time?
Yes, I mean, typically, I help people put their business model, their marketing positioning, their marketing strategy, all of those things. Those things can be done, and you can hit the ground running in 45 to 60 days often. So getting all the pieces figured out. I mean, I've been doing this for so many years with so many people that I can do it really fast. But here's a word of caution. I also work with people that have been in the consulting and coaching space for many years and have never even hit $100,000 because they don't package, market, and sell the way I teach. And they've tried to go down some of those roads I talked about, making some of those mistakes. And a lot of times they even burn out and they'll quit. So this is Justin mentioned, hiring a professional to help you do this. I can help you do it so much faster, where you can just start going and doing it, not trying to figure out all the things and piecemealing your business together. There's so many programs and people out there selling different things. But what often happens is people end up piecemealing all the strategies and everything together, and they never really leverage their expertise the way they can. And they don't make the money they can as a result. So
Perfect. All right. Well, we're going to need to wrap it up here. We did not have a chance to get to all the questions, but I hope everybody valued our conversation today. We are really thrilled that you all came out here today. If you do have other questions, again, visit Anne's website. We put that in the chat. We'll put that on the follow-up email as well. That follow-up email will have a recording of the webinar. You can also go to savantwealth.com with any questions you have, or if you'd like to reach out, talk to an advisor at Savant, go ahead and schedule an introductory call. As a reminder, there will also be a brief survey that pops up after we conclude the webinar. We'd love to hear your feedback on that. That's how we make these webinars better and more valuable for you. So please just take a moment to fill that out. And I want to thank you again for coming out today. It was a pleasure having you. Always learn something new when I'm listening.
Thank you so much. It was great being here, and it was a pleasure getting to speak to all of you and hopefully inspiring you to go into this industry.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.